So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be taking an image, not a particularly good image, one that I took with my phone of an illustration, and I'm going to take it through Photoshop, adjusting it, and then into Illustrator to create a graphic. So go to File, Open, already in the file where it is. I'm quickly going to go to Image Size. It is quite a big image. I'm going to reduce the size by about half, just increase the resolution. Okay, that will take a minute. So what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to add some adjustment layers, and this is how we change the look of images without destroying. It's called non-destructive editing. So basically they come in as adjustment layers. So you can either get these in the layers panel, where you go to layer to new adjustment layer, and then you keep this pressed down and you select the layer that you want. And I'm going to start with saturation, and the reason for that is that this image is very faded. The colors are almost grays at this point. So if this was to go straight into Illustrator, Illustrator would probably read that as almost black and white, and you wouldn't get a great trace from that. So now that is a lot brighter. The colors are a bit off, they're kind of faded and yellowed. So the next adjustment layer I'm going to add is going to be a color balance adjustment layer. So I'm going to go here, select color balance, and here I can sort of use the sliders to move away from the yellow, like a little towards the blue. I mean, that's reduced it a little bit, and maybe a little towards the magenta, a little towards the red. I mean, it's not great, but yeah, that's what happens with age. Anyway, and now I'm going to go to brightness contrast. And you can see here that all these layers have come in on top of each other, and they all have a little symbol, so you'll get to know the symbols. So I'm going to increase the contrast a bit, which will kind of make the images sort of pop a little. It will also increase the contrast between the colors, make them a little more graphic-y even before we go into Illustrator. So now I have these three adjustment layers and the background, and I'm going to actually merge them together. So I go to Layer, and I'm just going to do just Merge Visible. And now you see we just have one layer, a background layer, and I'm going to do File, and I'm going to do Photoshop File. I'm going to change the name to Robin 2, and replace it. Okay. And now it's saved. We don't need Photoshop anymore. Let's go to Expand Photoshop and open up Illustrator. I've done this a couple of times before, so you can see my previous. And okay, here we are, Robin. Okay, I think it was that one. Okay, and fit outboard and window, so you can see what we're doing. Okay, it's quite bright. So we already have the regular selection tool selected in the tools panel. So I'm just going to click on this to select it, and now you see I have the in the quick actions I have the image trace choices. If I don't see that there, I could go to object, and I also have an image trace choice down here. So almost everything that you have in Illustrator you can find in multiple places, just like Photoshop. So, but I'm going to click on here, and I get some choices here, and I'm going to choose 16 colors. If I wanted it to look more like a photo, I could choose one of the photo options, but I want it to be more graphic-y, so I'm going to do that. And once it is done, there will be more choices. So, and the great thing about this is whatever the quality of the original image and the pixelation or whatever, you end up with something completely graphic and something that you can enlarge to any size and it will be totally the same because, okay, so here I'm just opening the image trace panel and I have 16 colors and I really want to go to about 30 colors. I want a little bit more detail. So I have to wait a little bit again. Okay, great. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the detail in this bird because this is what I'm going to be extracting from the image. So once you are happy with the tracing result, you can click expand. And what happens is that every part of this image has been changed into areas of color, and it's now completely a vector image, which is amazing. So I'm just going to click off that, and now I'm going to select the part of the image that I want. So I think I'm going to zoom in. I'll just use the zoom tool right here, and the great thing about this is I can just center my zoom on the part of the image that I want rather than just expanding it randomly. So now I'm going to choose a selection tool. This is the lasso tool. It's a little different from the other selection tools we used previously. This one is just based on drawing around the thing that you want to select. So I'm going to draw around and I'm going to try and draw fairly close to this I'm just trying to include as little extraneous stuff as possible because I will have to delete all that afterwards. I mean, I could have done this in Photoshop. It probably would have been a little easier to just do it in Photoshop, but either way. Okay, so now I'm going to do edit, copy. Now if I paste in Illustrator, I won't automatically get a new layer. So I'm going to add a layer down here, create new layer. You can see the new layer has come up there, and the new layer is already selected. So I am going to edit, paste, and now it looks a bit confusing. So we're just going to click on the eye there so that we can't see this layer. Still looks confusing, but once we click off of this, you can see what we have. Okay, and that's the part of the image that I wanted. So now I can actually go through clicking on areas of color in this image and deleting them. And in fact, if I just press the delete button and just click, I can actually, with one click, delete parts of this that I don't want. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole thing because it's going to get very boring to watch that. But it is a little bit obsessive, I have to say. So anyway, that's the idea. Okay. I'm not going to do everything. So now what I would like to do is actually edit the colors in this. So let's push that. There. Okay, so I'll start off by selecting the whole thing so that you can see how this works. We'll go to edit, edit colors and recolor artwork. So if you do that, you get every color in the artwork there, and you can, this is the current, these are the current colors, and then these are the new colors. So I want the Robin Redbreast colors to be redder. So I'm going to move down from kind of orangey more into the red, and it's slightly redder, and let's just see how that looks. Okay, so that is redder. Just selected this. Let's go back and do it again. At this point, this color has come up as the original color, current color anyway. Now I'm going to go through and do the same thing here. I'm going to move it towards the red spectrum, and I think that will probably be fine. And then I will go to this one and do the same thing. Just move this slider so that it moves into the red spectrum. Okay, and say okay. So that's a lot redder than it was. Now I'm going to show how to do this a slightly different way. Some of the colors feature all over the place, and I might not want to change all of them. So I'm selecting the little dot in the bird's eye. So that's the only thing selected. So again, I'll go to Edit Colors, and the dot in the bird's eye is kind of green. I want it to be like a really nice bright light. Okay. That's the most sparkly. And I'd also like the beak to be a lot more yellow. Maybe I'll select all, see if I can select all the areas of the beak by holding down this. Yeah, I think I better just do them one at a time, but anyway, okay, edit. Okay, just going to make it much brighter, and a golden version of that colour for that highlight. Okay. And now I should be able to select this. Oops, no, I selected the wrong thing there. Okay. This is what happens when you're too lazy to zoom in. Okay, see, it's much easier to select what I want now. Let's see if I could probably get that too. Okay, good. So now, again, move that towards the yellows, and then move it around a bit to find a kind of, shouldn't be as bright as the highlight, but it should look, let's try that. Okay, I think that, actually I think I'd like to go a little brighter with that. Okay, that looks a bit more beaky. Okay. So there are different ways to work with these colours. I will show you another way. So Control minus or Command minus, zoom out, select the whole bird again, and okay. So something that you can do, say you wanted to consolidate colours together so that they kind of became the same colour. You can, for example, go down here and say, I don't want so many different greens. I think I'm going to make a couple of the colours the same. What you can do is you can drag from a current colour to another colour to kind of make them the same, and you'll end up with a bunch of colours the same. If I was to say OK to this, I would, you can see now there are patches of similar colour there. I mean, I could create a whole block of the same colour. I don't really want to do that because I like the detail and I think the colours are pretty, so I'm going to just cancel that. But that's something that you can do, especially if you want something a little more graphic. Merging colours together, you would end up with something more graphic. So I'm going to leave it there so the video isn't too long. The last thing I'm going to do, well, a couple of things. I'm going to select the original Robin image. First of all, you know what? I'll just show you the difference. Okay, that's the original, and then this is what we have. Of course, it's not finished. We still have to delete. And actually, take my words back. I'm not going to quite finish yet. I'm just going to remind you of another way of deleting, and that's just by using the eraser. Now, it's definitely a good idea to zoom in when doing this. Obviously, you can change the size of the eraser. You can use the brackets. So if you're worried here, this is another way of just deleting things, especially if they're not touching your actual desired image. It's easy to do it, and it also is very helpful if somehow you have an area of color where you need to keep part of it, but you want to get rid of part of it as well. So this, if I use my bracket, my right bracket there to make this much bigger, I can just very quickly get rid of this. So I have to click around it. Depending on how good your painting skills are, you can even just do that. To get rid of those little, okay, so this is just another way to sort of tidy up the image, just to remind you that there is an eraser here as well. Okay, and then again, I'm going to go back to my layers panel. Obviously, it's not finished, but let's go back to my layers panel, and the original image is selected, and I want to delete that because that's not needed anymore. So I go to the trash bin, I get this dialog box, and that's deleted. So now all I have to do is File, and this will be Export. If I want to save it as an Illustrator document, I will do just a save, but I'll go to Export As, and then PNG is already selected, so I can export it as a PNG. Click Export, and it's showing me that the background is going to be transparent, which is what I want. You do have a choice to put it on a white or a black background as well, but this is perfect. Okay, and we are done.